Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Gay with God podcast, a safe place for us to share our stories and support one another. How long did we know? What challenges did we face? Did we lose our faith? When did we find our way back home? Or are we still searching? The stories you hear on this podcast will melt your heart and strengthen your belief that in God, all things are possible, and you can be authentically gay with the God of your understanding. I am your host, Midge Noble, and I am very honored that you are here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gay with God podcast. I am so very glad that you're here, and I appreciate your support on so many different levels. So today, we're going to talk about showing up in 2025. Most of us would rather just get a warm beverage or a different kind of beverage before this new year is even considered. But it's already here, my friends. It's already here. And whether or not we feel ready, it is time for us to step into and show up for the year 2025. Now, we have some challenges ahead of us. And that's something that I want to talk about a little bit today. And I also want to talk about how we personally want to show up, not just as Christians, not people who follow Jesus, not people who are gay or straight or bi or pansexual or whatever we are authentically expressing ourselves as. We collectively as a human race need to show up in 2025. So how do we do that? The first thing to contemplate would be, why wouldn't we? Would we not show up because we're scared? Would we not show up because we're concerned of what's going to happen if we do? Not just being scared, but concerned on the fact that would it offend our friends? Would it offend our family? Are we not going to show up in 2025 because we're mad that our candidate didn't get in? Are we not going to show up in 2025 because we're exhausted? Will we not show up in 2025 because we don't know what to do? Like we knew what we were doing before, but what do we do now? What do we do and how do we do it? So let's talk about fear. Fear is one of those emotions that cover up a lot of things. Fear can cover up our feelings of unworthiness. Fear can cover up our feelings of inadequacy in other ways. Fear is there as a protector. So sometimes when things go awry and we may not show up because we're afraid of doing it wrong, we're afraid of getting hurt, we're afraid of losing people that we love. But if we go into 2025 with the fear that we may be feeling and we hold on to that fear, then we're going to do the thing that people have talked about online, is that we're going to submit to something before we're even asked to submit. We're going to go along with people in order to stay low. It reminds me of Peter when the cock crowed 3 times to remind him that he had denied Jesus. If we go into 2025 with the fear of taking on some retribution, we are not going to allow the God of our understanding to work miracles through us, because we're going to be shut down in that moment. So I want us to understand where that fear is coming from, and you have to answer that for yourself. Where is the fear coming from? For me, the fear going into 2025 is all the mess that we're going to have to go through and how bad it might get before someone either calls the leader into check, or it's just going to get so bad that it's going to be unrecognizable. But those things haven't happened yet. And that's the thing that people keep reminding me, and I'm trying to remind you and myself, is that the bad things haven't happened yet. But even if bad things happen, there can be a good ending. I used to do an activity with the kids that I worked with in therapy, and mainly those kids had been abused in some way. And the activity that I found as a therapeutic intervention was a bad time story with a good time ending. And we processed whatever abuse they had gone through and then created what positive things had come out of that. Now, hear me when I say that I know that sometimes the good time ending was that you're in a good family, you're in a safe family now, or you're able to do these things in school, so that whatever happened to them did not stop their internal light from shining. So it doesn't mean that, we wiped away the abuse. And yet we were able to see that through all of the trauma and through all of the stuff that we didn't like or didn't want to have happened, that this light inside this child was still shining, either academically or physically or in other artistic ways, that bad time story did not affect how this person could still show up in the world. So I want us to remember that no matter what we go through, it hasn't started yet. Well, it started, it started because 2025 was starting even before the election actually happened. But for us personally, if we're looking from a gay perspective, we're still married, we still have health care, we still have whatever rights we had when the election happened. Now we need to understand that no matter what the leader of this country is going to choose to do with our particular lives, one, it hasn't happened yet, and two, things can be redone. The marriage that I have with my wife, and I think I mentioned this last time, the marriage that I have with my wife does not need a piece of paper because our hearts were connected at our sacred holy union back in the day, and we considered ourselves married even when the state didn't, even when the church didn't matter. We knew we were a couple, and we lived our lives as a couple. We combined our assets, we combined our we did all of that. We had protections put in place so that she could be in the hospital room, so that I would be able to be in hers. So we're beefing that up a little bit more now based on the things that we think might happen, just to protect ourselves a little bit more. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be afraid that you're going to take my marriage. Even though you might take the piece of paper, or you might not grandfather us in, we may have to change how we file taxes. We'll probably get a better tax rate if we do that. But the problem is that they think that if they take away my right to marry, I'm already married in my mind, in my soul, and I have a piece of paper that can be, you know, useful later. Those people, I hurt for the people who may not be able to get married, and that they will not be able to look at, their lives as a married couple in the political world. But yet that hasn't happened yet. So I don't want us to go into 2025 living as if all the bad things have already happened. They haven't. There are political things that can be done to maybe block some of those things. There can be enlightenment on either side of the aisle that can help with that. And for those of us who are gay with the God of our understanding, we also know that there is a force of nature that can overcome anything that the other side throws at us. So, what are we concerned about? What concerns us? What are the things that we mull around at night when all of a sudden the thoughts that we don't want to think come up? What are the things that concern us to the point of feeling as if we need to move out of the country, or concern us enough that we just can't function at our job anymore? I think the concern that I have is that, one, I'm concerned about people who can't live authentically out loud the way we have been helping people do for several years now, with resiliency and going through all of the religious trauma and being able to come to terms with that. The non Christian white nationalists will have us believe that there is one religion, there is one, gender, male and female, to be assigned to people, there, that you can't be the array of diversity that we understand that we all are. I'm concerned that we're going so far back in time that we will be unrecognizable. And yet, that hasn't happened. And I'm not so sure that it can go all the way back. There are women who are working in professional fields that I don't think they're going to be fired. I don't think that there are people who are progressive enough now to have a two-family working relationship, and people can't afford to not have two incomes these days. We need to have two incomes in our homes right now. Um, and so my concern that we may look unrecognizable doesn't mean that I'm going to lose the vision for what I want in 2025. I've been commissioned as a lay preacher. I've requested to be licensed by the bishop of the Episcopal Church so that I can preach in other Episcopal churches other than just my own. So I see myself living into my calling, whether or not somebody says that I should be married to a man. So what? Even if they say I can't serve in a church because I'm a woman, hello, y'all come over to the Episcopal Church. They can't do anything about our church. This is our church. The Episcopal Church was founded on different principles than we have grown to be. Yeah, there were no probably women priests back in the day. I know that. The Philadelphia 11 were amazing women. Look it up. Amazing women in the Episcopal Church, and the people who supported them, that we did get ordained. We can be bishops. We can serve in the church. We can preach. So it is absolutely the denomination that I'm so grateful I'm a part of, because we do it all the way up to the top. And so I don't believe, and I'm not concerned that I can't fulfill my ministry that I'm being called into. So you have to identify, what is it that you're most concerned about, and is it actually something that you can do a workaround? If you are in a relationship right now, and you are in a heterosexual relationship, or you are in a relationship with a man or a woman looking as if you were straight, and I'm not asking you to hide. I'm not asking you to take the rainbows off. I'm not asking you to do any of that. I'm still going to be wearing my rainbows. I'm going to still be out and proud when I feel it's safe. Now, if I go into a place that I can see the Proud Boys have their guns, I'm not stupid. I'm not gonna be inappropriate in a way that could be unsafe for me, but I'm not gonna change who I am. I still have my podcast. I still peddle my book. I still am gonna be preaching the good news, which involves inclusion and marginalized folks and equity and equality. So I'm not concerned that I won't be able to serve. I might be censored. I might have my book taken off of Amazon. I don't know. But the thing is that I am going to continue to live my life, and they're going to have to be the ones to decide what to do with me. I'm still Midge, and I'm still an advocate for our community, and I'm still an advocate for the Episcopal Church, and that we can be gay with the God of our understanding. So, unless you take away freedom of speech, which I know they're trying to do, basically on how they're shutting everybody down, but I'm not going to submit to that kind of terrorism. Are we still angry? Yeah. Yes, I'm angry. I was talking to my cousin the other day, and I said that I was just so angry still, and I knew that part of that is covering up my anxiety. And she agreed that she's still anxious, and she is angry, but she's prepping. She said, "I think I'm going to start stacking up some of those meals, but they're so expensive." And she said, "But I'm considering how I'm going to be able to just kind of lay low and not even engage," which I don't think any of us can really do. But it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be angry that enough people in the world voted for someone who has all of the evil characteristics that this person has, and is nominating people who are absolutely unqualified to run our country. And our country is going to look unrecognizable if he actually does what he says he's going to do. So, yes, I'm angry because how dare he? How dare they? Yes, I'm angry. However, if I hold on to being angry, that really does diminish my ability to think clearly. Anger can spur us on. Anger can help us to, kind of like resist. However, if I'm so angry that I've lost focus, if I'm so angry that God can't work through me because I'm not open to the callings of God, then I'm just out for revenge. That's not helpful. So use the anger that you may have to resist, to peacefully resist, to come up with ideas of how you're going to pivot. This is the time for us not to shrink, but to pivot and still be effective in whatever way we are here to serve. So if we're here to serve and we're so angry we can't do our own job, we can't fulfill our ministry, that's not helpful. So we have to take the energy of anger and put it into good use. Mobilize, march, write letters, be clear, live your life. Fuel the anger through productivity and always through compassion for those that we're still standing up for who really may not be able to stand up for themselves at this point. Do you have enough strength to raise your hand to say, yes, I'm still exhausted? Mine's halfway up. I am exhausted. I am mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally exhausted. Part of that exhaustion comes from, going through the lay preaching training while all of this is happening and trying to, resist and trying to do the things that we were doing to try to get, our candidate elected. I'm just exhausted. And yet, I will not lay down. I will not give in. I will not give up. And yet, I need to figure out a way to balance what I'm doing because no one can run themselves down to the ground and be effective. So I'm looking for ways to find time to disengage, to find time to re-energize myself. I have to get back to the things that always worked for me. Yoga has always worked for me, but because of some injury and also, you know, anger and exhaustion took me out of my practice. So I'm working my way back in. I'm making sure that I stay connected to my morning office that I do as a devotional every day. When you're exhausted, sometimes you let those things slip. Not completely, I didn't, but I definitely am not on the routine that I was. So those things need to come back into my life. Over the last holiday season and the failed election, I'm not eating well. I'm not eating as well as I was. I'm not exercising as well as I was. So I have to reclaim my body emotionally, physically, spiritually. And those are the things that I'm putting into practice again now. Exhaustion is really close to then going into submission. When we're so tired we can't be who we are, it's easy to get pulled in to submission. So be very careful about that exhaustion does not ever serve us, and we have to make sure that we give ourselves permission to pause, to rejuvenate ourselves, and to make sure that we're on the track that God is calling us to be on. And I know most of us really are confused about what are we supposed to be doing. We fought the good fight. We donated, for some of us, more money than we really had budgeted to donate to try to get our candidate elected. We went to rallies. We did letter writing. We did all sorts of things that we just were spurred on, and we were being told, do this, do this, do this. This will work. This is going to get her to the White House. We did what we were told, and now what are we supposed to do? And quite frankly, I've shut off all of that what to do list. I'm what I'm going to do next is reclaim my body, reclaim my spiritual connections, my friendship connections. I'm going to be a part of the world and give myself a break. I'm not in charge of getting someone elected right now. I am not in charge of getting someone out of the White House. I'm not in charge of anything except for myself and my fur kids. That's who I'm in charge of. And so I'm going to not look for things to do. I'm going to look for things that I can do within my circle of people and within what I want to do for the greater good. But first, now that we've gone through the election, I'm not watching the inauguration. I think I mentioned that last time too. I'm going to be doing something positive during that time. And I'm not going to probably be online very much. And I'm probably going to take a break for that day. So I want you guys, because I know it's Martin Luther King holiday. How dare they combine the two of those things? I think that's horrible. I know it was just the way it was. It just kind of fell on that day, but I don't know why it did. Um, I'm not going to worry about the inauguration. It's going to happen. Not going to watch it. Not going to support it because that's me. I don't want to be upset on Martin Luther King Day, and so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to make sure that I follow my regimen as I always do. It's going to be a Monday. I'll do a podcast. I don't know what it's going to be about, but I'm going to do a podcast. And I'm going to continue to be who I am in the world without being pulled in to that drama. There's nothing about that day that I can support, and there's nothing about that day I want to support. So if you're trying to figure out what to do, maybe if you have no ideas, do nothing right now. Just pause. I'm not going to pause for the whole 4 years. I'm definitely going to, have my voice be heard and speak up and do the things that I need to do. But for right now, I'm going to pause a little bit. So I give you permission to pause. I give you permission to rest. I give you permission to look at your anger and see how to fuel that anger into something positive that doesn't hurt you. I give you permission to look at the concerns that you have and not to overreact to them, to remind yourself that these things have not yet happened. And I give you permission to tap into the resilience that you have always had. You're still here today because you haven't given in to any of the fears you've ever had. You're still here today because you are resilient. You do have the power within you to rise above anything. And you're not alone. Don't believe the rhetoric that we are isolated. We're in community right now. If you're listening to my words, we are in community. If you want to be a part of our Faith Journey group online, that's a way to stay in community, and nobody's going to know you're there but us, just us. If you want to be a part of community in a faith-based, affirming church, if you're in Asheboro or the surrounding areas, there are many churches that are going to affirm you and have you. The Episcopal Church is one of them. Some of the Methodist churches that, did not disaffiliate are there for us. So look for churches that are open and affirming and call and check it out. Ask questions and look at their Facebook pages. And ours is being revamped because I didn't think it was progressive enough and nobody would really know how open and affirming we were. So we're going to try to fix that. So, be a part of the change that we want to see. Be the change you want to see. Even though the other side is working to take away everything, continue to be it. Be the change in your life, in your relationships, and how you worship. Don't let them have you be submissive out of that fear. So channel that fear into something that can be productive. I know you can do this because you're still here. And that tells me how resilient you are. So remember that nothing you have been through, not even before time when we didn't have marriage, before time when we didn't have any rights at all, all of the things that happened that got us our rights were not easy things that any of our predecessors went through. And it sometimes was at a cost. So I'm not saying this isn't going to cost us anything, but I'm not going to be afraid to move into this 2025 because who knows? This could turn out to be our best year yet. And I'm not going to miss it. So I want to thank you and honor you for being resilient and staying in community and not giving in, because I don't think this negativity is going to win. Not long term. Love is going to win. And I want to be a part of that for sure. So if you'd like to hear more about me, to connect with me, to get coaching from me, you can go to the show page for this episode at empoweredmidge.podbean.com. You can also go over to my website, gaywithgod.com, and find information about me, and also to look for ways to purchase my book, Gay with God, Reclaiming My Faith, Honoring My Story. Check out our Facebook group, Gay with God, where we do the monthly Zoom group entitled My Faith Journey. And remember that community is so important, so don't lose that sense of community. Join us over there at the Gay with God Facebook page. And also for those who are local, I am preaching this weekend, if I don't get snowed out, at the Episcopal Church of the Good Shepherd, 505 Mountain Road in Asheboro, North Carolina. I'll be doing the 8 o'clock service and also the 10:30 service. So please join me if you'd like to. You can also stream it from the Episcopal Church of the Good Shepherd Facebook page. We go live every Sunday, so please join me either in person or online. If you are listening to this podcast and are questioning whether you can be gay and be in a relationship with the God of your understanding, if you identify as LGBTQIA+, or not even sure if you're gay, God has always been within you, even when you didn't know it. You have always been gay with God. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned to see how you can join the Gay with God community. And as always, you are loved. I want to invite you to become a part of the Gay with God community. How can you do that? Stay connected by messaging me your thoughts and comments in the comment section under the downloads of the show on the Gay with God show page. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen and share so we can increase our community outreach and be a light to those who are struggling to claim their faith. Consider being a sponsor so I can highlight your service in our community. We are all worthy of respect and a relationship with the God of our understanding. I want to thank you in advance for supporting this podcast. Together, we as a community will keep this show visible and our community stronger. Deep gratitude to my friend Tim McClendon of Tim McClendon Music for allowing me to use an excerpt from Interlude 4, a song found on his CD entitled Sundance.